So Holloway up against these hopefuls to be in the top 3 to advance to the semis, which are tomorrow.
Here's Aaron Mallett. The last time he was at the Olympic trials, he didn't make it out of the heats, but he did get 7th at the U.S. Championships in 2019. He's the reigning U.S. indoor champion at the indoor version of this event, the 60-meter hurdles.
So Price in 1, Elliott, Patterson, then Holloway and Mallett alongside each other. Charles, Henderson, and then Britt out wide in lane 8.
And of course, when you have 42-inch barriers, a lot can go wrong. We saw the U.S. champion Daniel Roberts, who was Grant Holloway's chief rival in college, not survive the first round of the World Championships in Doha. So it requires speed, but it also requires great precision to be a great 110 hurdler.
When we came on the air, by the way, it was 88 degrees. It's now 91. It's a warm day here in Oregon. Grant Holloway, the world champ, with those bright yellow shoes, gets off to a terrific start and is leaving the field behind. Take a look at the time. Holloway is flying to the line in a 13:12 for Grant Holloway.
He's not ready for the first round. He's ready for the final with that. Are you kidding me? He just demolished that entire first round field and ran a time that's 3 people have run faster than for the entire year. Yeah, he's ready for the final now. I guess he took his frustration of having to wait on that first round race. Jeez.
To put it into perspective, the Olympic standard just to qualify is 13:32, and Grant just ran a 13:11.
That's nuts.
What we do?
He says, what did we do? He did a 13:11.
So this is basically if wire to wire was a person. Let's watch Grant Holloway forward from your right. Bottom left, you'll see his speed. He's almost at 20 miles an hour. He is just in exceptional form right now. And kind of the way that we started the 100-meter rounds with Sha'Carri Richardson saying, okay, so they're running for the other 2 spots. The rest of America is running for the other 2 spots. 3 people are not beating the form that Grant Holloway is in right now. That was pretty spectacular. And you see him, does he look like that's a first round? It looks like that's a final pose.
He is just pleased to be running and competing. Jamal Britt and Aaron Mallett go through as the auto qualifiers. Here's Lewis Johnson.
What are you doing? So much for COVID protocols, I guess. Grant's in game playing mode, but you're not game playing out there. Oh man, I'm just happy to be here. Just trying to engage in the party. I didn't come to the party to sit on the wall. I came to the party to dance. So, biggest thing is come out here, execute, have some fun while doing it.
What's it like to have to wait until the second half of these Olympic trials?
It's horrible. You know, you watch the 100s, you watch the 4s, the field events, and then it's like, okay, you're on next Friday, Grant. It's like, all right. So the main thing is come out here, be light on your feet, be happy, and just continue to execute each round.
All right, we look forward to the next one.
Can't wait, guys.
You gonna take a lap?
No.
Not that he can't run the 400-meter hurdles, because he can.
Wonderful, positive spirit and energy. And boy, did he execute. Look at this. Just gliding over those hurdles and having some fun with our Lewis Johnson. He's happy to be at the track and glad to finally run his...
He actually defeated Grant Holloway en route to that title 2 years ago. He's 4th ranked in the USA so far this year.
Right alongside Daniel in lane 2 is Isaiah Moore. Trey Cunningham is in lane 3. And then Jamar Marshall, Brooks, Ames, Jackson, and Williams fill out the field all the way out to lane 8.
Here's Florida State's Trey Cunningham, the ACC champion this year, but he also made the final at both the 2018 and 2019 U.S. championships. So he's used to having a collegiate season and then coming and mixing it up with the pros.
For those of you just joining us, world champion Grant Holloway has just run, and he laid down a 13:11 for his opening heat in a phenomenal run.
Yeah, that's a time that himself and only 2 other people in the world have bettered this year. But now we focus our attention on Daniel Roberts in lane 1, the defending U.S. champion from 2019.
Let's see how that 2019 champ gets out of the blocks. Pretty good. Trey Cunningham's going with him, though, in those Florida State colors. It's Cunningham, the 22-year-old who leads. Here comes Daniel Roberts. Now it's close. Roberts edges ahead, or does he? That was a tight finish.
Yep, I think Roberts got there just ahead of the collegian Cunningham, but both of them automatically through. 13:22 for Roberts, Cunningham just behind in 13:23. The third automatic qualifier will be Isaiah Moore. But when you compare this run by Roberts to Grant Holloway, he was working a lot harder. You see him on the right. Cunningham actually controlled the race for most of this 110 meters. But just at the end, Roberts got a little daylight between himself and the collegian. There's that sliver of daylight. There was only 100th between them at the finish line. But both of them through. Roberts' season's best is about 2/10 under his personal best. So he's going to be trying to improve. But Cunningham is thrilled with his personal, just at his personal, but yeah, personal best, 13:23 for Cunningham.
And all that shouting and cheering you could hear going into the tunnel was Trey Cunningham. He was delighted with that. The 22-year-old 110-meter hurdles. In this race, you will see 2016 Olympian Devin Allen. He was a 2-sport athlete here at Oregon, and beneath where we are sitting in our broadcast booth, on the stairs that we climb each and every day, there is that image of Devin. This place, this new Hayward Field, is just a shrine to the University of Oregon, the athletes and the special people like Coach Bill Bowerman who have come in years past and what they've done for this place.
Devin was the only American to make the Olympic final in Rio. This is an event that is usually owned by Americans, so when Grant Holloway and Daniel Roberts showed up, American fans said, okay, we're back on track. He finished 5th in that final.
There's the full field. Who else have you got your eyes on, Atto?
Freddie Crittenden out in lane 6, who was 4th in this event at the 2019 U.S. Championships. He was outleaned by Devin Allen to make that team, so these two very familiar with each other. He went to Syracuse, and he competed at the 2016 Olympic trials where he made it as far as the semifinals. There's Michael Dixon. He'll be in lane 2. He made the team to Doha.
And finished top 5 there. Devin Allen 3rd from the right. He's got Michael Dixon on the inside, who was top 5 at those national championships. Here comes Freddie Crittenden. It's Devin Allen, Michael Dixon, and then Freddie Crittenden. Devin Allen gets there in heat 3, 13:26. That was a good close race between Devin Allen, Michael Dixon to his inside. Yeah, Devin's pumped.
Hey, when your image is all over the building, you better be performing. And in fact, we have remarked that all the Oregon Ducks sort of get a lift from the crowd. We saw Jenna Prandini do well in the women's 100. And look how perfectly timed that lean was by Devin Allen to get the better of Michael Dixon to his left. So here's another look at Devin Allen's first run down this straightaway. And he had company from Michael Dixon the entire way. The two of them very close in terms of season's best in 2021. And it took almost a max effort by Devin Allen to hold off Dixon. But those two, as well as Freddie Crittenden, are automatically qualified through to the 110 hurdle semifinals. Little shadow boxing.
Confirmation of those results, 13:26 the winning time. That's how close it was. It goes beyond the 100th of a second between Devon Allen and Michael Dixon. Freddie Crittenden goes through. Let's check in one more time with Paul. Pete.
The fourth and final heat here in the end-time hurdles. In lane 1, indoor outdoor All-American Ryland Hampton.
So Trey Holloway in lane 1, and that is the brother of Grant Holloway, who we saw run that 13:11 in the opening heat, the world champion. This is his brother. Ty Brown is alongside him. Seidhoff, Luke Seidhoff in lane 3, Sam Brixey in 4, then Nicholas Anderson in lane 5. We've already shown you Jared Eaton.
And Jared at 32 is probably running out of chances to finally make that team, and he will know that, because with all the young talent coming up underneath him, Roberts and Holloway, and even Devon Allen is younger, and he's got to get it done.
Starting alongside him, Addo, is Jalen McConaughey of Illinois in lane 7. There he is.
The Big Ten champion, currently number 7 in the world from the University of Iowa, Jalen McConaughey.
So there's your field in this final heat of the men's 110-meter hurdles. Who gets that automatic qualifier? Who's going to be in the top 3 to go through? Tomorrow it's semis and final day in this event.
I'm going to look to see how Jared Eaton manages the last 5 hurdles. We know from his indoor prowess how good he is on the first 5. And you'd be surprised how many hurdlers talk about working on their last 5, including the world champion Grant Holloway. When he broke that indoor world record, he said, yeah, we know I can run the first 5. If I want to have any chance at being Olympic champion, the world record holder eventually outdoors, I have to get the final 5 right. That's the case for lane 6, Jared Eaton.
False start, they're going to get caught back.
First false start of the day. When there's a false start in the hurdles, it takes a while, because you have to pick up all of those barriers and then walk back.
Did you see anything that was glaringly obvious?
No, but I haven't seen anything all weekend.
Well, we had a lot in the first 4 days of competition, didn't
Right.
we? Anything from the sprints to the distance events, strangely enough. Let's have another look.
There's another look. No, I mean, those guys were, but remember, those pads are pressure sensitive. We're gonna look at, Trey Holloway 092. But we are shown a green flag, which means there is no false start charge. You see that 092 at the top there? If the reaction time by any athlete to the sound of the gun is quicker than 0.1 of a second, there is grounds for them to be disqualified. But I really thought that everybody was holding still there, but it may be, and I've said this week, that the starter heard that tone in his ear. And some starters will ignore it if they didn't see it visually. Other starters, as long as they hear the tone, they're going to shoot the gun again and just tell everybody to hold and come up, even if they didn't see it visually. And I think that's what happened there to young Trey Holloway. The fastest time in the world in this event is Omar McLeod of Jamaica, who is the reigning Olympic champion, 13:01. Then there's Grant Holloway at 13:07.
And again.
You know what? I think it's Holloway again. He's not holding steady at set. Now I'm looking at him, and he's just not. We'll see in the replay.
Does he know something that we don't know? It looks like it. The older brother of the world champion. Look to the far right, closest to camera.
I want you to look here. Watch him at set. Is he holding steady? I'm not sure. See, he's dropping back down, so he's coming up for set,
and
then
down.
And mind you, there are a lot of athletes that do that, but if you are registering pressure on that block, every single time the starter is going to hear that tone in his ear saying somebody is moving before 1/10 of a second.
So is it a green flag or a green card?
You see?
Yep.
So now they're being told, gentlemen, come up and hold steady at set. They don't want to have to disqualify anybody, but they will. If your knees are moving at set, you're not holding steadily. You don't expect to see this at the Olympic trials. These guys are supposed to know better. You got to come up when you hear the set command and hold perfectly still. Those blocks are wired for pressure, and they will tell on you.
All right, third time lucky. Here we go. Final heat of the men's 110 hurdles. Again. Somebody has to go this time.
Well, this is a big one. I wonder if they're going to reveal just who is setting off this alarm. Is it somebody else now that's doing it? You see the green flag up, so let's take a look again, see if we can see anybody moving again. Doesn't seem to be anybody moving any more than anybody else. Is it possible there's a malfunction with the blocks? Because it keeps pinging Trey Holloway. He did not react 0.08 of a second. I guarantee you that. Yeah, I think he may have a blocks there that they have to change. A pair of blocks. Blocks are wound a little too tightly. Either that or the starter just has to say, you know what, guys? He needs to call all his assistant starters and say, if you don't see it with your eyes, don't shoot a second gun. Let's just get this.
Let's get it going.
Let's get this heat going. Yeah.
And no false start started. Let's try it again here.
This is 3 times now with no false start charged, but with lane 1 giving a reading that's way below the threshold. So at this point, I think the technology is getting in the way. Everybody needs to just watch these gentlemen. If you don't see it with your eyes, do not shoot a second gun. Simple as that. Remember, this is also a heat. It's not like, you know, it's a final and everything's riding on this.
Fifth false start. 5th callback. What is this now doing to these athletes?
Oh, this is, I have lived through this. Paris 2003, I'll never forget it. It probably took us 15 starts to get going. It drains you because now you've pushed out of the blocks 4 or 5 times and it's hot.
It's over 90 degrees here in Eugene.
Poor Trey Holloway's like, oh my gosh. I'm from Florida, but even this is ridiculous. He's actually from Virginia. Still hot. The technology is getting in the way of good sense. Here's another look. Look at lane 2. No, everybody's, that's who I had my eye on. Everybody seems to be okay.
We've had 3 other heats in the men's 110.
Flawless.
Flawless. Why here, why now?
Meanwhile, the women's 800 that's waiting to come up, they're like, oh, come on. You're getting into our time now. Well, I've suggested what the fix is. If you don't see it visually, do not shoot the second gun. So we're hearing now that lane 4, Sam Brixey is out. Yep. They finally got somebody.
23-year-old from Boise, Idaho.
He is not happy. I wouldn't be either. So let's take a look at Brixey here. That is not a lot of movement. Just at the top of your screen. Yep. A little flinch. That's what put paid to Aaliyah Hobbs' chances in that semifinal in the 100. Yeah, he flinched. There's no question he flinched. But I think they figured, look, at this point, we have to make an example of somebody, otherwise we're going to be here all day. So tough break for Brixey. He was 5th at the Pac-12 championships, but his trials are over.
Ready to do it for a 6th time?
Sure.
Finally a clean start in the final heat of the men's 110 hurdles. Out wide, Jalen McConaughey is leading Jarrett Eden. Eden's now coming on in that white top, but it's McConaughey, Eden, and on the inside, Ty Brown. 13:35 for the 22-year-old from Illinois.
He's just finishing up a redshirt senior season at Iowa. 2nd at the NCAA championship, so he knows how to compete well on this surface. And after all that it took to get this race started, give some credit to the youngster for keeping his composure and his nerve, because this was a wire-to-wire win, and he looked pretty comfortable doing it. His personal best is 13:23. This is not too far off of that, and you see him sort of celebrating getting that win.
So the auto qualifiers are Jalen McConaughey, Jarrett Eaton, and Ty Brown, just like that. Through to the semi-finals tomorrow, and the final of the men's 110 hurdles will be tomorrow as well. You'll see that live on NBC Sports. Key qualifiers